Can I have some space? You can sit there, but you're gonna stay there. That's not gonna last very long. Welcome to the wrap-up for January and February. Going forward, I'm gonna do this month by month, but you might know I had pneumonia for like the last 2 weeks of January and like the first 2 weeks of February, so very inconvenient timing. I could not film my January wrap-up, so we're just wrapping it all into one big wrap-up for January and February. But yeah, moving forward, it's gonna be monthly because this is gonna be longer than I want it to be, all right? Anyways, we will do it in chunks. I'll talk about January and then I'll talk about February. So let's just get into it. I don't really want to ramble on. My intros are always just like so long. I told you you can hang out, you just gotta sit and not press the space button. All right, he's gonna go sit on the computer for now. He'll be back, I'm sure. I made myself a slow gin fizz. I don't know, I bought the slow gin because I liked the bottle, and then I told somebody and they were like, ooh, gross, but honestly, I like it. I like it. It's just some slow gin with some soda water and like a very little bit of lime. I think like a technical slow gin fizz has like maraschino in it or something like that, but this is just a fizzy gin. All right, anyways, let's get into it. We're just gonna start and we're gonna talk about January. I read a lot more in these 2 months than I normally do because I was sick and I couldn't really do much else. So here we go. For January, I read 11 books. My average star rating for January was 3.82 stars. So not the worst reading month, So let me see, what books did I read this month? All right, so I'm gonna try to keep this spoiler free, talking about the books that I read, just in case you're interested. I think there's only like one book where I might get into some spoilers, just because I feel like you need to be warned about it if you're for some reason thinking of picking it up. But the first book I read in the new year was Cat and Gamer Volume 1. I got this for Christmas from my mom. It's just a manga about a gamer girl who adopts a cat like on a whim. Like she's at work and somebody's like, we found this cat in the parking lot. Does anybody want it? Nobody wanted it, and she was like, I'll take it. What happens from there? I mean, if you are a gamer with a cat, you probably understand like the mischief they can get into when you're trying to play your game and stuff. Like at one point it turns her console off before her game like registers that she's done something. Oh my gosh, relatable. My cat is sitting on top of my PC tower right now, obstructing the airflow. You know, cats and gaming, they don't always mix the best, but this was really cute. I rated it 4 stars. I recommend this if that sounds cute to you. So I started the year with just a cute little comfy, cozy, fluffy manga read, and it was 4 stars, so that was a good one. So then I read Mountains Made of Glass, which is like a oh my god, is that upside down? Oh no, I thought it was upside down. This is like a fairy tale retelling, but it's like a whole bunch of fairy tales in one. This one I rated 3 stars because it was just kind of mid. Yeah, this was by Scarlett St. Clair, who has, oh my gosh, I was looking at other books by her recently. I didn't realize that this was the same person as those other books, but yeah. So this was just pretty mid-tier. If you like fairy tale retellings that involve like a jerk of like a fairy prince or a whatever that's being saved by like an equally like evil or jerky woman, you would like this. Like it wasn't a bad read, it was just like a mid read for me. Definitely 3 stars, and this is the start of a series where I think each of the brothers of these like fairy kings or princes or something are going to be getting their own books because they're each cursed in a different way, and they have to like break the curse through like true love or something like that. I don't even remember what lifts his curse. Yeah, so this was pretty mid, but you know what you're getting if you get into it. It was also a very quick little read, so I recommend it if you like that kind of thing, but don't expect anything like groundbreaking for the genre. So then I think I was moving into Winterween, which I have a vlog of if you want to watch me talk more in depth and watch my reading experience of the next couple of books. I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is like a little horror novella. I think it's supposed to be based on the house or the fall of Usher, the house of Usher, the fall of Usher, whatever that not Stephen King. I said this in the vlog too. What is his Edgar Allan Poe story, I think? Yeah, I don't know anything about that story, but this was a really spooky read for me. It really gave me the ick. I mean, you can see on the cover, you can make some guesses about like what's going on there. There were like moments in it that I was just like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? Oh yeah. Anyways, this was a really good, really quick read for me as well. I loved this. I rated it 5 stars. All right, then I read The Witch and the Beast Volume 1, which is a manga that I picked up when I was out doing the Barnes & Noble hardcover sale. I picked it up purely on the cover. I did not know anything else about it. This is a horror manga apparently. I had no idea. I really, really liked it. I rated it 4 stars. It has a very interesting premise. Okay, these two people are like witch hunters. They're out looking for witches because this person is cursed and they're trying to break their curse. You have to get the curse broken by the witch who cursed them, and they don't know who the witch is. So they're out hunting witches. This I really liked, 4 stars. I would maybe check the trigger warnings because there is some like body horror and gore and stuff like that in this, so maybe look into that if that's something that might bother you. But otherwise, I thought it was a really interesting story, and I do really like the characters. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. So now my first library book of the year, I read Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. It was translated by Anton Hoor, who he has a book coming out that I'm very interested in soon. But anyways, I read Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung. This is a series of short stories. They range from like horror to like fantasy kind of things. Really interesting. I loved it. I rated it 5 stars. Really good read. Some of it is really creepy, and definitely I would maybe check some of the warnings if you can find them on like Storygraph or something, just in case there's something that might get you. Because there definitely were stories there that had me a little bit like, ooh, creepy. I really liked it, and if you like spooky, scary short stories and also folky fairy tales, like, I mean, one story is just about like a princess trying to like break a curse on a prince. I was not expecting it after reading about like a haunted apartment building, you know? Really good though, really good. I loved that book. So then I read The Family Game by Catherine Steadman. This was the final book I read for Winterween. I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was really fun. It's the first ever like thriller I've ever read, so it was kind of my first foray into the genre, at least that I can remember. This is about a woman who's marrying into like a very wealthy family, and she starts going to see them during the holidays. The father of the family wants to play a game. He gives her like a tape that has what sounds like a confession on it, and it kind of goes from there. And she's like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it. It's been a while since I've read it, but I had a lot of fun reading this, especially the end. If you can suspend some disbelief for things, like, I think it's a really fun little thriller. Yeah, 4 stars for me. So then I read this on my Kindle. It's the only ebook read this year so far. It's called Presented to the Feral Alpha by Bridget Blake. I rated this 3 stars. I picked it up during the Stuff Your Kindle like paranormal romance day. I think it was in December, because I remember I was like on vacation at a bar with my family, just like getting as many things I could get that sounded interesting. Yeah, I picked this one up. This is about like a werewolfy Omega-verse kind of place. Like, it's exactly what you expect from this kind of thing, which is why I rated it 3 stars. It's not the best written, it's not the best plot, but if you're going into something like this, like, you gotta know that. And so it got a 3 stars for me because it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was give me a story with yearning and werewolves. So it's about a young woman who is about to turn 18, I think. No, she's older than 18, like in her 20s. She's a werewolf, she's an Omega, and in this world, like, Omegas get like presented every year during this like moon night or something, I don't know, to try to find their like true mate. If you make it through all the years without your true mate appearing, then you can marry whoever. So it's her final year of being like presented, and her alpha showed up the first year, but he didn't claim her. She doesn't know who he is or anything, and so she's been struggling knowing that her alpha is there, but he doesn't want her. She doesn't want to be used as a political pawn for the alpha of the pack that she lives with, so she has a plan to run away, but then her alpha shows up and things happen from there. You gotta know what you're getting into with this. Like, it's exactly what you would expect from this kind of genre. It's kind of silly. The sex scenes are like some of the worst I've ever read in my entire life. I wish I had not seen them with my own eyeballs, but I know some people like those kind of things, so Anyways, 3 stars for this silly little book. And then I started reading the Chestnut Springs series this year. So I read Flawless, which is the first book in the series. This is like I don't even know what to call this. It's about Rhett and Summer. He's like a big bull rider, so he has people that manage his like sponsorships and like public appearances and stuff, and she works for that company. Her dad owns it, and she is kind of being groomed to be like the next person who takes over the company. Rhett gets himself in a lot of trouble. They opt to send Summer like with him to kind of babysit him for a while. It's cute, it's sweet, I liked it. I rated it 4 stars. Yeah, that was my first step into cowboy romances, or like cowboy-esque romances, and yeah, I'm not stepping out of that genre for a while. Then I read Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. This is about a girl who lives in like a commune with her family, and she leaves. When she turns 18, she leaves, and she gets an invitation to come back home for her cousin's wedding. Her cousin is marrying our main character's first love. She's not supposed to go back. Like, once you leave, you're not supposed to come back because it's like a cult. So she goes back and things go awry. This, I think, is a very heavy metaphor for like growing beyond your parents, and it was really heavy. I rated it 3 stars. Not like heavy like subject wise to me, but like heavy like the message. Like, it was, they were like, this is the message, and I was like, okay, I got it. Like, I don't know, I rated it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite, definitely not. The end was a lot of fun. It took me by surprise, I will say that. But other than that, the first like 75%, I was kind of like, I don't really like this that much. And some of the things I think were supposed to be like big reveals, I was like, okay, not a surprise to me. Then I read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This one I rated 5 stars. All right, this is a werewolf novel. It's about a woman who comes home to help her sister, who is moving into single motherdom. Like, she's pregnant. She says that was it her fiance or boyfriend? I don't know. He's not in the picture. She's pregnant, so her sister is coming home to help her out. And while she's there, she gets attacked in the woods by a werewolf, and so she starts changing, and she's like not sure what to do about it all, and at the same time she's trying to like deal with family trauma and things like that. Also, there's like a little romance, and oh my gosh, I love this. It gave me really big Ginger Snaps vibes. This one really, I feel like, put werewolfism, lycanism next to pregnancy and said like, let's experience these 2 things similarly, because while like she's dealing with her body changing and her urges and her like issues related to like becoming a werewolf, her sister is going through like the same thing with pregnancy. And as somebody who is like terrified of pregnancy and what it does and can do to your body, and like the loss of your agency sometimes from that, like, this one hit me really hard. All right, so just so you know, this one does deal with pregnancy and also werewolves, so there's a lot of gore and stuff. Yeah, so Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison, I rated 5 stars. I really want to read Cackle and some of her other stuff, because, you know, I had 1 mid and 1 really high, so I want to see if any of her other books can chase that like real high. Then my final read for January.
Editing Mielo here with my shark friend to warn you that this next book has some tough topics, specifically like grooming and PDF file type stuff. So I'll put a timestamp up if you don't want to deal with it. And you can see that Cubby is here even when I'm editing.
Was All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. And I did not know where I heard about this book. I was kind of consolidating wish lists, so I was on like a really old Amazon wish list, and this book was there, and it's super highly rated. It's like 4 stars on both like Amazon and Goodreads, but the story... So I check the trigger warnings for this, because this deals with a young, extremely traumatized girl, and when I say young, I mean young. She is elementary school level, and an older man. She's super traumatized. Her parents are like into drugs, like I think her father like is like a part of a meth operation and like brings drugs into the country and stuff like that. Her mom is also very like mentally ill, so this young girl like doesn't speak. She's afraid to eat things, so she only eats like in secret, and so she's just super traumatized. But there's this, I think when we meet him, he's 20 and she's 8. It's inappropriate, okay? And so we follow their story until she's like 20, I think. It's something like a very long story. I don't know. Like, it's very inappropriate, and there's like explicit scenes. And there's like one scene where she's like 12 and he's like looking at her, commenting on how like guys are gonna start looking at her legs and stuff like that. I'm like, that is a 12-year-old, sir. You should be in jail. You should be in jail, okay? And like, he was gonna marry her at 14. I rated it 2 stars. I almost want to go back and rate it 1 star. I rated it 2 stars because the writing is really good, but the subject matter, why is everybody rating this 4 stars? I'm so confused at this because there's like explicit scenes and she's underage like pretty much the whole time until like he does go to jail. Okay, spoilers, like he goes to jail. Hi guys, my phone ran out of storage, and if I try to record on it again, even after removing the file, like it'll only let me record in like 4-minute sections. So we're going webcam, even though it's like a very big drop in quality, I think. I really need to get like an actual camera, but we do what we must while we have to. All right, so I was talking about all the ugly and wonderful things and saying that like they get together at the end of the book and it's framed as like a good thing for her because he's the only one who like understands her trauma or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because he groomed her. He knew her when she was 8. Why are we doing this? You know? Anyways, so that was what I ended January on. Like, 2 stars. Probably should move it to a 1 star. It was a rough end to the month. I don't know why that was on my list. Where did I even hear about that? It wasn't even on my Goodreads. It was just on this random Amazon wish list. So I wanted to read it and see why it was so highly rated. Don't recommend that one. Do not recommend that one. Now we're gonna do February. Let me get my stats for February. So in February, I read 18 books. I know, who is she? How did I read 18 books? Let me tell you, lots of novellas. But it was like 5,900 pages, 5,901 pages, apparently. I don't know how correct that is because some of these are in here as ebooks when they're not. And then my average star rating for this month was 3.79, so a little bit lower than last month. But, you know, still not bad. Still like a little above mid, you know, a little bit above mid. Now let's see what books I read. All right, so I started the month with Night Hunt by Alexandra Christo. This is the author of Why Did the Name Leave Me? She wrote To Kill a Kingdom, which is that like enemies to lovers, Siren and Siren Killing Prince book that I rated 4 stars. This is called The Night Hunt. It is, again, I think they try to pass it off as like enemies to lovers. Maybe that works, I guess. I don't know. I rated this one 3.75 because I did like the general idea of it and like the lore behind the female main character. My problems really were in like somewhat the pacing. I find with like a lot of Alexandra Christo books that like you're moving along and you're like, yeah, this is good. And then all of a sudden they're like, you have to do all of these things. And you're like, I only have like this much of the book left and we have to do all of those things. And then we do them all and it's just like boom, 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 boom. With this one, I rated 3.75 because I didn't really like the ending. Another thing I think Alexandra Christo kind of suffers from is like, so her books are usually like about this like huge conflict and at the end of it they've solved the conflict, but like what comes after you solve the conflict, like what comes after you end the war or whatever. Lots of political boringness really is really like the realistic answer. And she in this one went a little bit more in depth than she does in her other books, and it just felt really like I was like, okay, okay, I guess that works. And then also, I feel like she wanted us to really like the side characters. It was like a group of 4 people was this like main group that you're working with, and I just felt nothing for the 2 like side characters. So they were like in mortal peril every once in a while, and I was like, okay, cool. That would be so terrible if we lost this person that I know nothing about. Or we would try to have like emotional moments with them and I just didn't care. So 3.75. And then I read Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This is the first book in the Twisted series. I rated it 3 stars. This is a billionaire romance and I'm trying to be a billionaire romance girly because it looks like they're all having so much fun. This one was 3 stars for me. It just wasn't really like my kind of thing, mostly because like the guy he needed you to know how wealthy he was. Like, I feel like you could know that a guy is a billionaire just by like little things, but he was constantly like in his head, he's like, I'm wearing my custom loafers, I've got my fancy watch on, and all this stuff. And I was like, I'm cool, good for you, I guess, but I just didn't like that. And I found the plot very contrived. Why did she need a babysitter? I don't know, like, why did somebody have to live next to her? I mean, I guess there's reasons, but I don't know. It was just kind of dumb. 3 stars. Then I went back to Chestnut Springs to jump into book number 3. I skipped book 2 for, I'll pick it up later. But I read Powerless by Chestnut Springs. This book is about Sloane and Jasper. Jasper's a hockey player. Sloane is a ballerina. I wouldn't necessarily call this a hockey romance because there is very little hockey in it, although I've never read a hockey romance, like a true one, so maybe those also have very little hockey. I really like this one a lot. Like, they're childhood friends to like kind of friends and then to like lovers, essentially. Sloane has like daddy issues. He wants to control her. He's trying to get her to marry this guy that she doesn't know for like business reasons. And Jasper's just got some trauma to work through and doesn't think he deserves her. And she doesn't think he likes her because of like jokes they've made, but they've both been pining for each other like almost their whole lives. I really liked it. And I really liked the fact that Sloane was allowed the like space to kind of come into her own. Oh my God, Cubby. I wish you would just let me hold you like indefinitely. I really like that Jasper trusted Sloane enough to like let her go and fight her own battles and let her like grow on her own without him having to be there the whole time. I don't know. I like the growth for the sake of herself and not for the relationship, you know? I like that a lot. 5 stars. Did I say that? I rated that one 5 stars. I loved Powerless. And then I read Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. This one I gave 4 stars because I thought it was pretty cringe. I took some pictures. Let me see if I can find them. But this book is about 2 people who are, I believe, either late 30s or like early 40s. I can't remember exactly. They both are playing this online game. He's playing it because he likes it. And she's playing it because she has like a deal with her son where if she socializes, he will socialize. He just went to college and he's like telling her that he's not doing anything. And she's like, you need to get out and do stuff. He's like, oh, it's just so daunting. And so she's like, well, if I socialize, you have to socialize. She's a super hermit since her divorce, which relatable, although I haven't been divorced, but I am a super hermit who plays a lot of video games. And the guy in the book, he came home to take care of his parents while his father was sick, and then his father passed, and his mom is elderly. It's not safe for her to drive, and somebody needs to like manage things for her, but she's very mean. She's really mean. So they meet in the game. He thinks she's like an old lady, and she thinks he is like her son's age. So they make all these assumptions, and then they meet in person. It's cute. I really liked it. The first 20%, super cringe. Once they get out of the game, it gets really cute and not cringe, but like when they're in the game, there's one point she has to ask for a heal. She like joins up with the group and is playing like purposefully a bad character in a bad build just to see how they react to her being bad because she doesn't want to run with people who are rude. And I think they're pretty rude. But she doesn't because she has to ask for a heal. And they're like, LOL, you're bad. Trash build. Interesting choices. I don't know, that's kind of rude to me. Like the you're bad and trash build, I would be like, okay, bye. And then at another point, the guy, the main male character, he's like, hey, if you start getting swamped, come by me and I will keep you clear. And she's just so defensive in the game. And like, as a woman who plays video games, like I know that there's reasons to be really defensive, but I feel like she just jumps to so many conclusions and is just so like immediately defensive. And like, maybe if you've been burned a lot, and I mean, in my experience playing online games, like I tend to keep my gender under wraps most of the time. Like I played WoW a lot when I was in high school, college, and I didn't tell anybody my gender. You would never find me on a voice chat or anything. Whereas like my friend would tell people her gender, and so she would get a lot of harassments, but she also never had to pay for an expansion. So, you know, your mileage may vary. I have definitely been harassed for being a woman in video games, but this is just very defensive. He's like, come over by me if you start getting in trouble, and she's like, I'll be fine. And he's like, just saying. And she's like, because I'm a woman. And he's like, because you're level 27 and everybody else is 50 or higher and I'm a level 100 healer. No offense. And she's like, oh, sorry. Why would you just jump to that right away? She does that to him so many times. where he'll try to be nice to her and she'll be like, I'm not gonna date you. I'm old enough to be your grandma and stuff like that. And I'm like, girl, calm down. He's just being like nice. They accuse her of like hacking or whatever because she like knows how to play the build or whatever, and she's like, don't hate the player unless you want to go. I don't know. This was just like so cringe. She says fucking A, right? Fucking A, right? And I'm like, wrong. I don't know. It was very cringe for me as a gamer to see like this kind of language. Do people talk like that? I don't know. All the gaming communities I've been do not talk like that. I don't know. I think those people are rude. Anyways, I rated it 4 stars. It was cute once you got past the cringy part. And it's always nice to read a romance about older people. Like as a 34-year-old myself, it's nice to read about people closer to my age. And I liked the MMO in essence. I like the idea of it, but so cringe. Then I fell into the Ali Hazelwood era of my life. I have a whole vlog about reading all these books if you want to see my like super immediate reactions and thoughts. But here we go. I read Under One Roof. This is one of her STEMinist novellas. I rated this one 3 stars. This is about somebody who is left half of a house in a will. She goes there. There's a guy already living there. He works for like an evil company. She works for the EPA. They butt heads. They were roommates, you know. 3 stars. I kind of want to bump it down to 2 stars. I did not like this one. Then I read Stuck With You. This is another STEMinist novella by Ali Hazelwood. I rated this one 4 stars. This is essentially about 2 people who get stuck in an elevator together, but they have like some history. They had like a meet cute over a croissant. They work for rival companies, but they really like each other. I thought it was really cute. I felt the chemistry, unlike with the previous one. I liked it, 4 stars. Then I read Below Zero, which is the 3rd STEMinist novella by Ali Hazelwood. And this one I rated 4 stars. I thought it was a really interesting premise. It's about 2 scientists at NASA. The female main character gets stuck in a crevasse in like Norway or something. I don't know. She's out testing something for the rover, gets stuck in a crevasse. He has to come and save her. Yeah, 4 stars. Then I went back to Chestnut Springs. I read Reckless, which is the 4th book in Chestnut Springs. This one is about Winter and Theo, and this was the one I was looking forward to the most in the series. So Winter is just going through a divorce. Trigger warning, there are some mentions of miscarriage in this, just like mentions. It's not on page. It doesn't really go in depth into it, just mentions that she had a miscarriage and like why, and she's very sad about it. But anyways, he's like a young hotshot bull rider who is trying to not be like a womanizer or like a man who is thought of as sleeping with many women or whatever. He wants to get serious with his life, and Winter is just coming out of a divorce, trying to figure out who she is anymore. They have a one-night stand and she gets pregnant, and it goes from there. I loved this book. It took me on a roller coaster of emotions. If you want to see it, I have a vlog coming out reading the entire Chestnut Springs series. If it's not out the week after this, it'll be out the week after that. Like, it'll be out within 2 weeks after this video goes out. I really loved Reckless. I was looking forward to this. I kind of knew I wanted them to be my favorite, and I love Theo and Winter so much. I loved it. It was so good. All right, 5 stars. And then I read The Ancient Magus Bride, volume 14. I've been like slowly working through this series. I rated this volume 3 stars, which might be my lowest rating for any of the volumes. This just felt very much like the most filler of any of the volumes yet. Like, yeah, some things happened, but it was mostly just like moving the plot along with a little bit of exposition. So not like any intense moments as far as I can tell. So 3 stars for that one. Then I read Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I really wanted to love this one, but 2 stars. Unfortunately, I did not like this. I feel like I'm alone in my dislike. Everybody else I see is like, oh my god, it's so good, but I don't know. If you want to see my like super in-depth thoughts, like most of the vlog is about Bride, but I don't know. I just pull like Ali Hazelwood female main character with like a paranormal romance werewolf man. Like, they weren't even speaking the same languages in my head. Like, it was just, I did not like it. The world building took me out constantly. I didn't like it. If you see me picking the next one up though, because obviously there was sequel bait at the end, like, just look away, okay? Don't look at me. And then I read What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. This is the 2nd book in the Sworn Soldier series. It follows the same main character from What Moves the Dead, but it's about when they go back to their home country, essentially. and their like property. So I rated this one 4 stars. This one was less horror than What Moves the Dead and more just like vibes, you know? Way more just vibes. Like the vibes were bad and people are coughing. It was 4 stars. It was still good. It didn't hit me as hard as What Moves the Dead did. So then I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is her first YA contemporary romance. I rated it 3 stars. I think if I hadn't read it like sandwiched between like all this other Ali Hazelwood, it might have been 4 stars or 3.5. But I think when you read all of Ali Hazelwood so close together, like the issues are just so glaring and they just, yeah, 3 stars. It was cute. 3 stars. And I went back to Chestnut Springs to read book number 2, which is Heartless. This is by L.C. Silver. I feel like I haven't been saying that. So this one follows Cade, who is Rhett's older brother, and Willa, who is Summer's best friend. I definitely recommend on some level reading these books in order because there are like little things that happen throughout it that go in consecutive order. So like they mentioned some things in this one that when I picked up the third one, I was like, wait, what are they talking about? Like what happened here? But just little things. Like you can read them out of order. It's not a big deal, but I would just recommend reading them in order. This is like, she's the nanny, okay? He needs somebody to watch his son for the summer while he's working on the ranch and the son is home from school. Cubby, stop rubbing on my microphone. She's younger than him. I can't remember how many years. Like it's either like 13 or something because he's the oldest brother. I rated this one 4 stars because I thought they were cute. It really had me in the first half. I was like, this could be a 5-star read. It's so cute. I love them. I didn't think I was gonna like them. Like I thought they were gonna be like my least favorite couple, but I love them, okay? Because when you read them in the other books, they're just like snarky, lewd comments. So I was afraid that that was all they were going to be in their own book. They're more than that at least. But once the smut kicked in, I was kind of like, yeah, this is not for me. So yeah, I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was cute. I liked it overall. And then I read King of Wrath. Oh, I actually own this one. Look at that. King of Wrath by Anna Huang. This is her like Kings series or something like that. Kings of Sin series. And there's a few of them out. I think 3 or 4 out and like 3 more still coming. But this is another billionaire romance, but this is like an arranged marriage billionaire romance. Well, when I put this up, it is doing things to my face. My bathroom has been like under remodel for the last week, so like we're a mess out here. So this is about Vivian and Dante. And Dante is the CEO of a company. Vivian is, I guess she's technically also like a CEO. She runs her own event planning company. Her family is new money and he is old money. They get arranged together. Her father blackmails him. She doesn't know that. He's like really angry about it. Yeah, I don't know. They learn to like love each other, but you know, there's angst because of the blackmail and everything. And she also is having issues with her family because they sold her off to an arranged marriage. They did the same thing to her sister, but like her sister actually liked the person. Anyways, I rated this one 4 stars. Okay, I loved it. I read it in 2 sittings and it's not a little guy. I liked this billionaire romance way more than Twisted. And I think it's because he was more like quietly wealthy. He wasn't always telling me about his expensive things. But yeah, 3 stars. I've seen people rate it low, or 4 stars. I've seen people rate it low because they say it's like carbon copy of the Twisted series, but like I said, I've only read the first one of each of these series, so I feel like I don't have that hanging over my head, and so I rated it 4 stars. And then I read The Love Hypothesis, which I also own here. This is from September 2021, book of the month, and I finally read it in February 2024. We got there, guys. I rated it 3 stars. I wanted to love this so much, but I did not love this. 3 stars. Big bummer for me, I guess. This is probably one of my favorite Ali Hazelwoods, I think. I did rate Love Theoretically. I think I rated that one 4 stars. I liked this one 3 stars worth. So then I read Whalefall by Daniel Kraus. This was an experience. I rated this 4 stars. This is about a young boy because he's 17 in this, and he is going on a scuba dive to try to find his father's remains. His father checked himself out of the picture. His friend and him went out on a boat, and he put stuff in his pockets and just went boop right over the boat's edge and did not resurface. His remains were never found. So this guy is like, I'm gonna go find them. He has a lot of trauma to work through from his dad, And in the process of diving, he gets eaten by a whale. Yeah, and things just get a little bit weird. They just get a little bit weird. I was trying to explain the plot to my fiance, and he was like, "Excuse me, what?" And I was like, "Sometimes you just have to accept things for what the author put on the page, because sometimes that's just what it is." I'm not going to say any spoilers, but it does get a little bit weird. I almost DNF'd at 50% because I was kind of like, this is not my genre. And then all of a sudden I was done with it. At some point, I just ate the book. And like some pages, there's like 3 words on a page. It's not like solid pages. I was like so stressed during this time. Like, just know he gets eaten by a whale. Okay. So like there are claustrophobia. He's inside of a whale. You know, I don't really know even like what triggers to warn people about here, because like he gets eaten by a whale. So if anything that could come from that bothers you, like we're talking like body horror, traumatic injuries, that kind of thing, I would stay away from it. But if it interests you in any way, there's a lot of like 4 stars. Okay, I really liked it. It's not going to be everybody's favorite book though. It is an experience. Then I read Princess of Souls by Alexandra Christo, and this is the second book in the 100 Kingdoms series, and these are 2 standalones. The first one in the series is To Kill a Kingdom, which is that Siren book I was talking about earlier, and then this is the second one, which follows a witch. This is supposed to be like a Rapunzel retelling kind of thing. When I went in, I didn't know it was supposed to be like a Rapunzel retelling. I just knew it was about a witch who was kind of kept in a tower and like under lock and key until she was needed for her magic or whatever, and she like escaped, so now she has to like kill the king. When I was reading it, I was like, okay, this is giving like Tangled, except if Rapunzel was like a witch with green hair and snake eyes, and if Flynn Rider, on top of wanting to steal something, was also trying to kill the king for revenge, and then if both of the animal companions were humans but had the same story impact as the animal companions had. You know, that's how it felt. And I rated it 4.5 stars because I had a really good time reading this. I liked it a lot. I liked the romance in this one a lot. It gave me like real like rogue vibes, like X-Men, because if she touches somebody, she sees like how they die or like how they're intended to die. Her visions can be adjusted. Like if you know what is coming, you can adjust for it and not die. It just shows you a death might be coming for you. So she's afraid to touch people. She's constantly like fully clothed, like up to here, and she won't touch people. And so there's that angst of like she wants to touch him. They want to touch each other, but they can't. And yeah, I really liked it. So 4.5 stars, and I hope she writes more in the series because I like this series. I ended February with Every Heart a Doorway, which is the first book in the Wayward Children series. This series is about, or this book is about like, you know, when kids find magical doorways and go into fairy tale worlds or whatever. What happens when they have to return back to our regular world, like when either they age out of the world or they get kicked out or they just choose to leave, like what happens when they come back. So this is about like a home for those kids, kind of like a boarding school for the kids who come back and don't want to be back. There's like 2 schools. One of them's for the kids who come back and are okay with being back, but who just need help like readjusting. And then there's this school, which is for the kids who come back and don't want to be here. It's a novella. It's like under 200 pages. I've seen people talk about like how sad it is, and I've read one other book in this series. I read the one that's set in like the horse world, because the other books kind of follow kids through the doors. This one was very much just on this side of the door. It was heavy. I was not expecting it to be as heavy as it was. Like, I should have listened to what other people were saying. I feel like when you think of the premise, it sounds like a kid's book. This is not a kid's book. Definitely not a children's book. At some point, some of the kids start being murdered, and it's gruesome a little bit, like the way that they're being murdered. So just a warning for like a little bit of body horror there. A lot of body horror, actually, now that I think about it, because they do talk about like, not everybody goes to Candy Cane and Rose's worlds. Our main girl that we follow, she went to the land of the dead, but it wasn't like bad. They have like a system of like high logic or high nonsense and like dark and light or whatever. I don't know, but it was really interesting. I'm really excited to continue this series. I have a hold on the next book in the series, but I want to do the audiobook. I want to try it on audiobook. Fun fact, this is Shanann McGuire. Did I say that correctly? That's the author. I did not say that. And I rated this 5 stars. Did I say that? I'm so bad at this. But fun fact, she writes under Mira Grant for like dark stories. And I have one of their books waiting for me to read it, Into the Drowning Deep. I had no idea they were the same author. Pen names. So yeah, that was the last book that I've read for this year. That was a lot of books, guys. So many books. Currently, I'm reading Hopeless by L.C. Silver. I'm finishing this. This is the last book in the series, and I'm, maybe like a third of the way through. Really liking it so far. Yeah, that was it. I read so many books, and I did find a lot of like new kind of favorites and series that I'm really enjoying. I read a lot of different genres this like year so far, so I don't know, I'm like way ahead on my reading goal of 75, I think is what I set it to. I'm like way ahead. I am like stacking up this year early so that maybe I can chill out a little bit further into the year, when the wedding and everything kicks into high gear. I can not worry so much about it for meeting my goal. Yes, that is what I read this month. 29 books? Is that what that is? Can I do my math right? 11 plus 18 is 29? Yes, I read 29 books so far this year, which is crazy for me. That's so many. Did you have any standout reads so far this year? Are you on track for your Goodreads goal of the year? Do you even have a Goodreads goal? That's it for me for this week. I almost said this year. You will see me again this year, I promise. Please leave a like and subscribe if you liked this video. I try to put out a video every week about books. I also have multiple other channels if you like horse games, if you like MMOs, if you like Final Fantasy 14. I have multiple other channels that are all going to be linked below. You can find me on Twitter if you want to see me talk about nonsense and video games and stuff over there. I also have a Bookstagram where I post a lot about what I'm currently reading or my library hauls. I have a lot of library books right now. It is a bit of a problem. I'm going to try and do like putting together a TBR video, and it's just going to be ridiculous. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful like day, evening, night, morning, dusk, whatever it is, wherever you are in whatever time zone. I hope it's going wonderfully for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.